Foundation in November 2011 and coordinates initiatives and efforts to ensure the park remains at the forefront of technology and applied science. He leads the foundation in achieving its mission of creating opportunities for all of North Carolina by repositioning RTP to respond to new realities and reinvent itself to meet the demands of the 21st century. Please welcome Mr. Robert Geolas.
Well, thank you very much for that. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see everyone. I had the privilege to be in Puerto Rico, I don't know, was it quite a year ago? It doesn't seem that long, 6 months ago maybe, in May. And Arnaldo, when they first reached out to me, they said, well, now look, we have to tell you, we've got sort of this crazy idea. And every time I talk to Arnaldo, he keeps telling me, I know we're crazy, it's a little crazy, it's great. Look, either insanity is growing in Puerto Rico or something. I mean, this is a crazy crowd, I guess, because this is a big, compelling, innovative idea. But obviously, it's an idea that has traction and it has meaning. And whenever you seek to do something of great purpose, the first thing you have to do is sort of get a good understanding of who you are, where you come from, what's important to you, what's meaningful to you. I love what the last speaker said about be sure to ask a lot of questions, and you need to ask a lot of questions of yourself in terms of what you're about and what's of interest to you. I know that there is a lot of conversation going on around the world today about what makes a place competitive globally. And there's a lot of talk around research parks, innovation centers, innovation districts. I mean, there's a dozen names for what everyone's trying to do, and that is they're trying to find their competitive advantage, that thing which is going to help them to lift their economy, to create opportunities, to create hope and promise, and those are all noble and worthwhile objectives. I'll tell you a little story about, in order to sort of find, where, what sort of sets a place apart in terms of making it a place of innovation and a place of that hope and promise. Well, there's a lot of talk today about places of urbanity. And so you'll hear a lot about innovation districts and the need for them to be in urban spaces. Well, I went and I spent about a week in Boston, Massachusetts, around MIT, Cambridge Innovation Center, Kendall Square. And obviously there's a tremendous amount of innovation and growth and excitement going on in that marketplace. And obviously the close proximity to universities, intelligent people, and the urban experience enhances that environment a lot. But then I got on an airplane and I flew out to San Jose, California, out around Palo Alto, which is incredibly suburban. Doesn't have the urban center of Boston. Now, obviously, you can find that in the San Francisco Bay Area, but not in San Jose. You're driving everywhere. And yet it's incredibly innovative and creative. But in that environment, they have a culture of risk-taking, a culture of allowing people to fail and start over. There's capital and resources that actually encourage that kind of cultural risk-taking. So the innovation isn't necessarily tied purely to urbanity. Culture has a lot to do with that. And then I flew down to California, Los Angeles, and I went to the Imagineering Studios of Walt Disney. I happen to be a big Walt Disney fan, and I was always fascinated by these people who call themselves Imagineers. Incredibly innovative people, designed some of the most fabulous movies, theme parks, environments, and just are always pushing the boundaries of creativity. And so when I went to this environment, I noticed it was in the same old warehouses that Walt Disney himself had picked out in 1956. They'd never changed. From the outside, you'd never know that some of the most exciting things were going on inside. And yet these people were producing amazing and exciting things. But when you talk to those folks, it's all about brand for them. It's about the fact that they grew up with the Walt Disney brand. They believed in the Walt Disney story. They would be a part of the Walt Disney Corporation helping to make innovative things happen, and it wouldn't matter where it was. So the lesson from visiting those three places was that you shouldn't try too hard to compare yourself to everyone else. You need to sit down and ask yourself, what is it that makes us special? What is it about our culture? What is it about our environment? What is it about our brand? What is it about our story that will help us to take on this crazy idea and to make it a reality? And so I think it's a really wonderful thing that you find the opportunity to come together like this. And I noticed all the energy that went on before we sat down. Obviously, you're talking, you're sharing ideas. Well, here's some things to think about. Here are the things that I think about and that I ask myself when I look at places that I think have opportunities, and ask yourself, what do we have that helps to make this happen? Well, first of all, what are your programmatic drivers? You've obviously identified space and aeronautics as a programmatic driver, but underneath that, and I think Arnaldo pointed out earlier, there are a whole variety of technology innovations and subsectors that fall under that. Great economies, great economic drivers, great physical places of real estate that have value are program driven. First and foremost, they start with what it is you want to do and how do you make that, how do you build on that, how do you invest in that. Clearly, you have to have a physical place to make that happen. Now, you've already got a wonderful island, but you've also got, you have to think about where are the physical environments, the labs, the facilities, the land that you're going to do. You need to be able to show someone where that is, how it is structured, how they can be a part of it, and what's the infrastructure that backs that up. The infrastructure in terms of talent, the infrastructure in terms of the basic necessities that make an environment one in which people can come and be creative and excited to make things happen. What are your partnership opportunities? I loved hearing earlier about the Tri-City partnerships, about the Promise Zone. Those are all key elements to making partnerships work. But all of you in this room are components to that partnership. How do you link together your industries, your nonprofits, your universities? How do you begin to build a culture of partnership that's going to help you to leverage off of each other? It isn't always about how much money you have or don't have. Now, let's not fool ourselves. You got to have money to make things happen. But there's a lot you can do in leveraging greater resources if you begin first and foremost with a committed partnership yourself. I can't say enough about the need for talent. And you have those talent pieces here. Each of you represent that in this room. I was hearing earlier, talking to Arnaldo about your universities, the number of students in your universities. Now, they're leaving today. That's the story, right? The brain drain. We had that in North Carolina 50 years ago. We made a big idea. We created the Research Triangle Park. I hear it over and over again around the country. You need to be able to support an environment that's going to keep the talent here. Now, what does that environment start to look like? Well, there are 4 goals that I think are important. And again, these are questions you should ask yourself and how you put all this together. How does the environment that you have, how is it highly collaborative? Again, this goes back to the idea of creating partnerships. It comes back to the idea of physical place. How do you create a collaborative environment where people are actually talking and engaging with each other? And that means you have to have programs, you have to have events, you have to have activities that bring people together to do that. How is it authentic to you? This again goes back to the question of what makes you different, what makes you special. But you know, you have a fabulous culture here in Puerto Rico. You have a beautiful island, you have wonderful hospitality, Focus on the things that are special to you. Celebrate those things. Make sure that they are a part of whatever you create here in Puerto Rico is representative of who you are. And let the people have control and ownership of it. Don't try to control it so much yourself that it becomes too structured. Let it be organic. Let it grow a bit. Let other people have ownership of it. Make sure the story is a story that everyone feels a part of. Make it inspiring. I love the videos we saw earlier. People are excited about space exploration and space travel. They should be, and we should all be focusing more on how do we make the future more exciting. Our young people today don't have enough opportunity, I think, to get motivated and excited about the future, but we should give them more of those reasons to do that. So make sure whatever you create is a place of great inspiration that tells a great story. And finally, I think whatever place you create needs to be flexible and affordable. In today's marketplace, the value is in idea creation. It's not in traditional real estate development. Spaces and places that you invest in need to be focused more on high quality than on high end. And so you need to make them places where a lot of people can come together, find space, grow and shrink as they need to, allowed to be successful, allowed to fail, and be okay with that. But you need to have an environment as part of what you sell. And the question you need to ask yourself, how do we make this as flexible and as affordable as possible? Now, pulling all these complex ideas and themes together can be complicated. I've been doing this kind of work for 20-odd years. I know how complicated it can be. But it's also the most challenging and rewarding work that you will do. It won't come easy. You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to be committed to it. But you need to be able to have a structure in place that allows these infrastructure investments to come together with the culture that is going to celebrate all of the big and exciting and innovative ideas that you have. So, look, all I want to say is, you may be crazy. I celebrate your craziness. I think it's awesome. And I encourage you to move forward, do big things, don't be afraid. And I look forward to seeing you be successful. So thank you all very, very much.